In late 2021, Geoffrey and Victor Max collaborated on a fictional retelling of their so-called star-crossed romance. Every character, event, name, and likeness presented in this audio has been fully fictionalized, and any resemblance to real individuals, whether intentional, implied, or coincidental, is purely accidental. This narrative is performed by Victor Max, who also contributed creatively to its development.
Grubbible presents A Stitched Heart.
Chapter 4, The Weight of Shame. It was a dreary Friday in July. It had been a week or so since Kevin had succumbed. He'd become a pale student to the hallowed arts, and Geoffrey Leonard happily served as his wretched teacher. They hadn't had the opportunity to truly act on their urges, outside of touching and kissing, but Kevin couldn't wait. He felt like he was going to burst open. The classroom emptied, and as usual Kevin lingered, trying to ignore the strange looks he thought his classmates were giving him. When the pair were finally alone, Kevin asked Geoffrey, "Do you have any plans this weekend?" Jeff laughed.
Of course. I've got some writing to do and some wine to drink. Why do you ask?
He smiled, poking fun at the boy, knowing Kevin had something on his mind. Kevin was visibly anxious. Sunday. The 13th. It's my birthday. Kevin squeaked, Geoffrey's eyebrows raised.
Oh, and what are you getting up to on your birthday, Kevin?
He asked. Kevin pictured Geoffrey asking the same question, dressed as Santa, with Kevin sitting happily on his lap. Kevin gulped nervously. Why? Parents can't make it. We should do something. He smiled. Kevin felt like he was going to vomit before quickly adding, outside of school? Geoffrey nodded and turned to the chalkboard, filling it out for his Monday class.
Very well, boy.
Geoffrey said.
I'll pick you up in the morning on Sunday.
The weekend was a torment of anticipation and dread. Friday night, Kevin paced his apartment above the bait shop, the fishy stench seeping through the floorboards, his copy of Lolita glaring from the nightstand. His mind churned Geoffrey's cold, scarred hands, the press of his uneven lips, clashing with childhood sermons of sin. "This is wrong," he whispered, stomach roiling. Sleep was a battlefield, his dreams a blur of desire and damnation, waking him in cold sweats, heart racing as if Hornsby's whispers were already closing in. Saturday dragged, the fog pressing against his windows like a warning. Kevin tried distractions, scrubbing dishes, sketching monologues, but every thought spiraled to Geoffrey. What if they were caught? What if Geoffrey saw his fear? Anxiety knotted his gut, food tasteless, his body trembling at the thought of those mismatched eyes, one blue, one green, stripping him bare. By nightfall, he was unravelling, staring at the clock, both craving and fearing Sunday's arrival. Sunday morning, Geoffrey's rattling truck pulled up, its engine groaning. Kevin slid in, clammy hands clutching his knees, the air thick with Geoffrey's scent, old parchment and faint decay.
Ready, boy?
Geoffrey rumbled, his scarred lips curling, his mottled skin catching the dim light. Kevin nodded, throat tight, as they drove to Westfield Hornsby, the mall's fluorescent glow a stark contrast to the misty town. Kevin Chan and Geoffrey Leonard began at an ice cream parlour, Geoffrey's cold fingers brushing Kevin's as they shared a vanilla comb, drips falling messily. Geoffrey licked his uneven lips, ignoring the stares, a mother tugging her child away, tears whispering about the weird old guy. Kevin's cheeks burned, but Geoffrey's low chuckle sent shivers through him.
Sweet like you.
He murmured, his gravelly voice igniting a spark Kevin couldn't douse. The small-town eyes felt merciless. Kevin's paranoia made them feel like they were being watched by every person they encountered. They stepped through conversations and Kevin swore he heard somebody say, "That old monster," and another, "That weird kid with the book." Their age gap, Geoffrey Leonard's monstrous form, their sin. It was almost too much. Kevin repressed the paranoia that the scandal brewing in a town that thrived on conformity would expose his secrets. Tugging on that string would only cause more pain. Hand in hand with Geoffrey, he was able to push the fear down deep. Kevin dragged Geoffrey to Toys R Us. Geoffrey just sighed as Kevin perused, shouting about this and that while showing Geoffrey action figures from Star Trek and Lord of the Rings. Kevin ran up and down the aisles, finding something new to play with in every one. Jeff simply smiled, his hulking frame dwarfing the aisle as he squeezed and followed Kevin. Geoffrey held one of the toys in his hands. It felt alien to him. He wondered if children truly enjoyed playing make-believe with hunks of plastic. He trotted off and secretly purchased one of the plastic pieces of junk before returning and leaving with Kevin, who had buggered himself running around in fits of excitement. He started yapping to Geoffrey about the 8th Doctor, a man called Paul McGann. And he hoped one day they'd make a movie and he'd get to be the next Doctor. He always wanted to see an Asian Doctor as Doctor Who. From there, Geoffrey led Kevin to the Hornsby Library, a quiet refuge in the mall's bustle.
You need to read, boy, to live the drama,
Geoffrey said, his voice a low rumble as they wandered the stacks. He pulled books with care. The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde for its hidden desires. Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin for its raw honesty. Maurice by E.M. Forster for its quiet rebellion. He skimmed past a copy of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, lingered on a copy of Justine, and then continued on moving to a worn volume of poetry instead. Kevin clutched the book. He wondered what marvellous stories it might hold and smiled up at Geoffrey. Geoffrey asked Kevin to wait outside so that he could pay for the book, telling Kevin this was his present. Kevin walked outside, his heart pounding at what a lovely day he was having. He felt like he could die. A gang of rambunctious teenagers barreled through, their laughter sharp and mocking. Running from mall security, they shoved past shoppers, knocking over displays. One yanked a vending machine, its metal frame teetering toward Kevin with a groan. Time slowed. Kevin froze, the machine's shadow looming. Kevin watched his own reflection appear closer and closer in the glass, unable to free his body, as if stuck in time and only able to watch his own demise. Geoffrey moved with unnatural speed, his stitched body a blur of strength. He shoved Kevin aside, catching the machine with scarred hands, muscles straining under mottled skin, holding it upright as cans clattered inside. Security grabbed the teens, who jeered, "Whoa, freaky old man," as they were dragged away. Kevin's heart raced, his body pressed against Geoffrey's for a fleeting moment, the older man's strength a supernatural jolt.
Careful, boy.
Geoffrey murmured, his eyes gleaming, and Kevin nodded, breathless, the touch lingering like a promise. Geoffrey tossed the vending machine back to its rightful place and gently grabbed Kevin's hand.
Off we go.
He smiled. The late afternoon sun cast a golden hue over the city as Geoffrey navigated the car through the bustling streets. Kevin slouched in the passenger seat, still catching his breath from their earlier ordeal. Geoffrey glanced at his watch, noting it was nearly 5 p.m.
Kevin, my lad, after all that excitement, I reckon it's time for a proper dinner. Fancy a treat?
Kevin perked up, his stomach rumbling at the thought. A chicken treat? Geoffrey smirked, his eyes twinkling with mischief.
Haha, my boy, somewhere with a bit of class. You'll see.
They pulled up to Le Jeune Garçon, a swanky restaurant with velvet drapes and chandeliers that glittered like stars. The maitre d' ushered them past a beautiful Steinway D grand piano with a stuffed black poodle and to a candlelit table by a window, the city lights dimming to a pale blur beyond the mist. As they settled in, a waitress approached, her smile warm and professional. She looked at Geoffrey, then at Kevin, and her eyes softened. "Well, isn't this sweet?" she said, her voice dripping with charm. "It's so nice to see a young boy out with his grandfather. What a treat." Geoffrey's lips curled into a sly grin, his eyes darting to Kevin, who flushed a faint pink.
Oh, he's a good boy.
Geoffrey said, leaning back in his chair.
It's his birthday, you know.
The waitress clasped her hands together, turning to Kevin with an exaggerated coo. "Happy birthday, sweetheart. How old are we turning today?" Kevin shifted uncomfortably, his fingers fidgeting with a napkin. 14, he mumbled, shooting Geoffrey a look. This feel a bit weird to you?" Geoffrey chuckled, waving a hand dismissively.
Not at all, lad. Just roll with it. Adds to the charm.
The waitress, oblivious to the undercurrent, handed them menus. "Well, happy birthday again. I'll give you a moment to decide." As she walked away, Kevin leaned in, his voice low. "Grandfather? Really?" Geoffrey's laugh was low and warm, his eyes crinkling.
Let's just say I've got a few years of wisdom on you. Now let's eat like kings.
He scanned the menu with a decisive nod.
We'll have a dozen oysters to start, and a glass of white wine for me, something crisp, a Sauvignon Blanc.
Kevin raised an eyebrow, skeptical. "Oysters? Okay. I'll just have a lemon, lime and bitters." The waitress jotted down the order, giving Kevin another maternal smile before heading off. Kevin leaned back, crossing his arms. "You sure about those oysters? They sound slimy."
Trust me, they're an acquired taste.
Geoffrey said, his tone teasing.
And quite the aphrodisiac, or so they say.
Kevin's cheeks reddened again, but he smirked. "Yeah, right." "We'll see." When the oysters arrived, nestled on a bed of ice, Kevin eyed them warily. He picked one up, gave it a tentative slurp, and immediately grimaced, nearly gagging. "Ew, these are disgusting, like swallowing the ocean's snot." Geoffrey threw his head back, his laughter rich and hearty, drawing a few curious glances from nearby tables.
Oh, Kevin, you're priceless. Keep trying, lad. They grow on you. Bit like life, messy, but worth it.
Kevin shook his head, pushing the plate toward Geoffrey. "You're on your own with those, I'll stick to the bread." They continued their meal, the conversation flowing easily, laced with playful jabs and lingering glances that carried a growing heat. By the time dessert was cleared, Kevin leaned back, patting his stomach. "Man, I'm stuffed." Geoffrey's eyes glinted with something mischievous, his voice dropping low.
Oh, lad, you'll be properly stuffed by the end of the night.
Kevin's breath caught, a spark igniting in his gaze. The air between them crackled, the weight of unspoken promises hanging heavy. Without another word, Geoffrey tossed a few bills on the table, stood, and offered his hand.
Come on then, let's get out of here.
They strode out of the restaurant, the tension between them palpable, a magnetic pull guiding their steps. In the parking lot, they slid into Geoffrey's car, the engine roaring to life with a guttural growl. Tires screeched against the pavement as they peeled out, the city lights blurring into streaks as they sped toward Kevin's place, the night alive with possibility. Consumed by the moment, they sped through Hornsby's misty streets in Geoffrey's truck, the engine roaring as they reached Kevin's apartment. Inside Kevin's apartment, desire overtook them. Lips crashed in a fevered kiss. Geoffrey's cold, stitched body pressing against Kevin's, his uneven limbs exploring with hunger. Kevin paused for what felt like an eternity. He finally ended the spell of silence, asking, "You stopped it. That vending machine must weigh like 200 kilos. You didn't even break a sweat." Geoffrey smirked.
Hard bean.
He breathed.
Training.
"That's not it," Kevin proclaimed. "It's not just that. You're cold. You're pale. You're ham.
It felt like raw chicken left out overnight.
Geoffrey ran his hands over Kevin's shoulders, silently. Kevin continued.
You're freakishly strong, glued together in ways no human should be, stitched when you should have scarred.
There was a long pause. Geoffrey spoke gently.
Say it.
Kevin looked up at him, horrified and aroused. A Frankenstein. Geoffrey nodded.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Kevin simply grabbed Geoffrey's hands and pulled him along. They stumbled to the bedroom, shedding clothes in a frenzy. Geoffrey's mottled skin exposed, stitches straining. The night was debauchery. Geoffrey bound Kevin's wrists with silk scarves, his scarred fingers tracing lines of dominance, their gasps mingling with the creak of the bed. Kevin surrendered to Geoffrey's commands, their bodies a tangle of sweat and sin, the older man's eyes burning as they moved in waves of forbidden ecstasy. Monday morning, Kevin woke alone, the sheets cold, the fishy stench of the bait shop seeping through the floor. Shame flooded him, a tidal wave of guilt and self-loathing. He stared at the ceiling, questioning his sexuality, the chasm of their age gap, the monstrosity of Geoffrey's form. His religious upbringing surged bursts of condemnation, warnings of hell, making his stomach churn until he retched into the sink. What am I? He whispered, tears streaking his face. The lingering musty smell of Geoffrey on the sheets burned his nostrils like an ancient curse. He dressed, hands shaking, and resolved to disconnect, to go cold turkey on his aged and handsome homunculus. The forbidden flame had scorched him, and the weight of shame was crushing. Kevin looked over at the gift Geoffrey had left, aside from the damp sweat stain in the sheets and the pain in Kevin's arse. A neatly wrapped brown paper present on his bedside, Kevin left it untouched. He withdrew, his heart a battlefield of longing and fear. He skipped their secret meetings in the auditorium's shadowed wings, where Geoffrey's cold, stitched hands had once traced his skin with a hunger that set him ablaze. He dodged Geoffrey's knowing glances during acting classes, those mismatched eyes, one blue, one green, piercing through his defences, promising danger and salvation in equal measure. Terrified of the consequences, yet aching for his touch, Kevin tried to bury his desire, to convince himself it was wrong, unnatural. A sin Hornsby would never forgive, but Geoffrey was relentless, a creature of stitched flesh and unyielding will, his presence as inescapable as a disabled child trying to escape a pedophile. One evening, as the acting school emptied and the rain drummed against the windows, Geoffrey cornered Kevin in the prop room, surrounded by dusty swords and tattered costumes. Kevin's breath hitched, his fingers tightening around Lolita as Geoffrey's neck flap quivered with every step, his flabby bicep jiggling under a threadbare sweater. The absurdity of it, craving a man who looked like he'd been sewn together by a drunken tailor, only deepened Kevin's torment, a dark comedy that made his obsession feel both ridiculous and undeniable.
You're running, Kevin.
Geoffrey said, his gravelly voice low, intimate.
It's not the years, Kevin.
He continued, his neck flap trembling with conviction.
It's not the distance. It's not the lives you've yet to live, is it?
He smiled that damn half smile.
It's you, scared of your own heart. And at what age can a person stop loving?
He paused, stepping closer, his mismatched eyes searching Kevin's with curiosity and love.
I don't think there should be any age.
Kevin hated how right he was. The words cut through him, exposing the truth he'd tried to bury, that his fear wasn't just the town's judgment or Geoffrey's monstrous form, but the raw, untamed desire that threatened to consume him. Kevin felt the weight of his choice, the pull of a love that could destroy him, torn between the safety of a normal life and a strange, unnatural love. He turned away, his voice barely a whisper. "You don't understand," he said, almost pleading. "It's not something people here accept. They'll tear us apart like you tore my arsehole apart." Geoffrey's scarred hand reached out, stopping short of Kevin's shoulder as if sensing the chasm between them.
Let them try.
He said, his tone defiant yet softened by a tenderness that made Kevin's chest ache.
I've lived through worse than their whispers.
"Have you?" Kevin asked, the question hung in the air, heavy as the fog outside. Kevin was afraid of the answer. Geoffrey remained stoic and silent. Kevin fled the prop room, his footsteps echoing in the empty hallway, but Geoffrey's words clung to him, a siren's call he couldn't silence. Days bled into weeks and Kevin's avoidance became a ritual. He sat in the back of the classroom, his eyes fixed on his script, avoiding Geoffrey's gaze as the older man taught with a passion that made the air crackle. The other students, oblivious to the undercurrent, hung on Geoffrey's every word, his philosophy of living drama resonating in their eager notes. But for Kevin, every lecture was a reminder of what he'd lost, the fevered dance of their stolen moments, the cold press of Geoffrey's lips, the tremble of his flabby belly as they collided. Kevin felt the ache of absence, a void that Lolita's pages couldn't fill. One night, unable to sleep, Kevin wandered to the auditorium, the stage bathed in moonlight filtering through cracked windows. He stood where they'd once stood, the memory of their kiss, a storm of desperation and defiance burning in his mind. He could still feel Geoffrey's stitches straining, the heat of their sin, the way his own resolve had shattered under those seductive words.
That was an evil occasion, wasn't it?
Kevin was torn between running back to Geoffrey and running from himself. He clutched Lolita to his chest, its weight a tether to his forbidden desires, and whispered into the dark, I can't keep doing this. But Hornsby's merciless eyes, which seemed to follow him even here, reminded him that love like theirs had no place in a town so small, so cruel. Yet Geoffrey's presence lingered. Every musty smell, Kevin saw him in every shadow, felt him in every shiver down his spine. The town's whispers grew louder. Snippets overheard at the diner about that freak and that little half-caste fag, but they couldn't drown out the truth Geoffrey had spoken.
It's you, scared of your own heart.
Kevin's fear was a cage, but his desire was a flame, and no amount of distance could extinguish it. But he was going to try. And one cold night, Kevin stood in the dwindling light, barefoot and standing on the shoreline of Bobbin Head. Icy cold water lapping at his feet, warm tears running down his face. He threw in the delicately wrapped birthday present. In its brown paper wrapping, wholly untouched, it landed in the water and the brown paper wrapping faded quickly. Between tears, he thought he saw a rare Sulu action figure from Star Wars, his favourite Starfleet captain. He tore apart Lolita. It felt like a bag of bricks weighing on his soul, and threw it into the night, destroying the book. Felt like destroying a piece of himself, and he hoped it would hold. He hoped it would help erase the love of the man whose body defied time and reason.
Am I suggesting you subscribe? Well, yes.
Come on, boys, where are you? Oh, there's one.
I wonder what that was. Oh no! Cyberbend!
I can't believe they never released the second part. But thanks to the leak, it's here. Part 2 of the 3 Geoffreys. It's sick, it's hilarious. Will Cyberbend finally take out Jeff? Keep your eyes peeled, it's coming soon.
Tell them to like and subscribe.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.